Greetings and welcome to the Dr. J Vlog series. It is Sunday, July 6, 2025, and on Sundays we talk about the purpose and meaning of life. So, we often hear people talking these days about finding meaningful work. In the world that we live in, most of us are going to hold down jobs to make ends meet at the very least. And sure, some people are born into fabulous wealth in terms of their families. Some people will meet others along the way who will take care of them, look after them, so they don't necessarily have to work. There are some people who obviously can't work for health or other reasons. And then there's an interesting category of people, the growing category of people who purposefully choose not to work. So that's another growing segment. So I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but most of us, of course, the vast majority of us will be holding down jobs at some point in our lives. And in fact, the latest research shows that most of us will have as many as a dozen different jobs over the course of our working lives. And we'll spend upwards of 100,000 hours at our various jobs over the course of our working lifetimes. So clearly, it's important then to think carefully about our jobs and what we do for a living and what we'd like or love to be doing for a living. So, do you like your current job? Do you love your current job? And if not, are you planning to change your job or retire for that matter? So, and then there's the question that really came into focus in the second half of the 20th century. We didn't really used to ask this so much, but do you find your work meaningful? And from my perspective, as part of the Dr. J Vlog series, we'd put the central question this way: does your regular work align with your fundamental purpose in life? If so, great. You're well on your way. But if not, you should be asking, well, why not? Is it the job? Is it the nature of the tasks that you do at your work? Is it something about the rewards, something about the pay, other practical aspects about the job that you're doing? Is it something about the people that you work with? Obviously, that's a crucial issue. Are you simply in the wrong job or in the wrong field, and can you make a change? I suspect most of us have had to deal with these issues, at least from time to time, but especially when we're younger and we're trying to figure out what direction we'd like to go. And yet here's the challenge, because when we're young, we haven't necessarily identified our core mission in life. And so it's difficult to find a job then that aligns with the purpose and meaning of our lives, especially if we don't know exactly what these might be. And I found that it's very rare then for people, younger people, myself included, to know exactly what they'd like to do from an early age. In fact, from my core group of friends and people that I hung out with growing up, there was only one that I can really think of who seemed to know, even back in high school, what they wanted to do. And in this particular person's case, they knew they wanted to become a medical doctor. They worked their butt off. They got into a 6-year med program, combined program right out of high school, and they had their MD. They were a medical doctor literally just before turning age 24. That's quite remarkable. Most of us aren't so certain. Most of us have to struggle and find our way. And of course, there are a variety of issues then that continue to confront us as we pursue our life's journey, things that are going to complicate pursuing our mission. Even if we figured out what we want to do, it may not be so simple of trying to get from point A to point B, right? That is to get into the field that we'd like to be involved with. And there are a variety of reasons for that. We might not have the money to be able to enroll in the university or enroll in the training program. Or we might have other obligations that take priority, especially if we have kids early on. So I do recommend trying to hold off on having the children if you can. Don't wait too long. Or we might not have access to the kinds of work that we'd like to be doing if we're immigrants, if our credentials aren't recognized, and so on. I'm an immigrant to Canada. And that was one of the challenges that I faced when I came, even though I have a lot of advantages in terms of my language background, in terms of my educational background. But I did really have to start over when I came to Canada. So more on that in a moment. So all of which is to say, it's okay then to change jobs along the way. Okay? I knew from grad school that I wanted to be a professor, for example, but my pathway wasn't that straightforward. I moved from the US to Canada before I actually finished my PhD. And so again, I had to start over again in some respects, in terms of at least from a professional or a career standpoint. And true story, I actually got my PhD on August 20th, 1993. That's actually on the parchment, on the degree. It's framed in my office. I don't have it here. It's at the university. But yeah, it says, awarded on August 20th, 1993. And then the next day at 6:30 a.m. thereabouts, our first son arrived. So that was on Saturday, August 21st. So yeah, that was probably the best weekend of my life, I think overall. Friday, my PhD arrived officially. I was a doctor on August 20th, 1993. My first child arrived, our first child, on August 21st, 1993, the next day. And then on Sunday, just to top it all off, just a little mini brag here, I ran a 5-miler, a road race, and I broke 30 minutes for the first time. So, and then I got better after that, but that was the first time I ever broke 30 minutes for a 5-mile run. So that was pretty cool. Great weekend overall. All right. So, but here's the thing. I didn't have a real job yet in Canada. So for all these good things that were happening, I was still, doing a lot of part-time work, and I just took on, whatever work on the side that I am never been too proud to mow somebody's lawn or do whatever to make a few bucks, just to help make ends meet, to help pay the bills or what have you. But because I didn't have a job or a career really at this point, even though these wonderful things were happening, I decided to start a second PhD at the University of Toronto. And so, yes, I have a PhD from the University of Virginia from 1993, and I'm an ABD, all but dissertation, from the University of Toronto. So that means I did all the rest of the stuff, but I just didn't write that second dissertation. Why not? Well, I got a job. So it was part-time, but it was creating a research center. And then within a year, that part-time job became a full-time job. And that's really where my Canadian journey began. But it still, even then, it wasn't until 10 years later, in 2003, at the tender age of 41, that I finally landed my dream job of being that full-time tenure-track university professor at King's University College at Western University. And by the way, even then, I learned later, I wasn't their first choice. They offered the position to someone else, but she turned it down and worked somewhere else. It's okay by me. I don't mind being second. And again, I didn't know that at the time. But yeah, they called, they offered me the position, and I happily and gratefully accepted. And so while I've been teaching part-time at the university level since 1987, and then I've had a few full-time contracts along the way, teaching at different universities, at James Madison University in Virginia, and then in a couple of other universities here in Ontario, 16 years elapsed from the time when I taught my first university course at the University of Virginia in the summer of 1987 until I landed that tenure track appointment in 2003. That was my permanent job, shall we say. It's the job that I've loved now for the last 22 years. And so, yeah, it's never really felt like a job. As per the old adage, find a job that you love and you'll never work a day in your life. I definitely haven't worked in over 2 decades in that sense. In fact, if you gave me $10 million tomorrow, I'd say thank you. That's wonderful. But I'd still get up and go to my job. Does that make sense? That's what I'd still want to be doing, even with the 10 million in the bank. Okay, so I suppose there will come a day, by the way, when I'll tire of the university teaching, or when I won't want to do this particular job any longer, but that time definitely has not yet arrived. So my message then to you folks is simple. Do the deep dive to figure out what's important to you, what's important in your life, and then make plans to pursue the type of work that you find meaningful and that most aligns with your core values and mission statement. And then be patient. Keep getting up every day, doing your best to fulfill your commitments and your obligations, whatever those might be at the moment. And at the same time, do your best to enjoy the journey along the way, including the different jobs that you might have to hold, even some that you don't necessarily like. But there's still a purpose. There's something to be learned from those jobs. And there's still people that you're going to meet along the way and memories that you're going to create. And so each job or each stage I consider to be another chapter in one's autobiography. And I like to think again that there's reason and meaning behind all of the jobs that I've held or that you've held over the years. And each one teaches valuable lessons. And then your life's journey, with all the way stations and the pit stops and the people and the jobs, will be at some level important and meaningful to you and instructional if you look at it that way. And so I look at it this way then. If I hadn't traveled down the pathways that I chose and the road less taken, as Robert Frost might say, and then explored all the side streets as I did over the years, I'd probably not have written this particular song that I'm going to share with you, The Heart's Symphony. It is on the Dr. J, my debut album, 62 Since 62, and it kind of sums up my view of work and life and having no regrets about the journey. Were some of the jobs crappy ones along the way? Of course. Did I have some doubts along the way? Absolutely. But the one thing I never did was stop believing in myself, and I never gave up. And so here's the song that I'd like to share in that regard.
Someone were to ask me, what shall I be? And how might I answer in all honesty? In my meager years I've earned nothing but tears. No one respects me, I have no career. I've studied in college, I've studied the streets, I've learned of success through 1,000 defeats. What might prevail of these earthly travails? The grace and the courage to learn how to fail. Lord knows the wonder of life's mystery, alive with the spirit, the heart's symphony, rejoicing in happiness, struggling with pain. Cold, I would soon try again. Life's tapestry, alive with the spirit, the heart's symphony, rejoicing in happiness, struggling with pain. If cold, I would soon try again. The family, they watched as I soared through the skies, vaguely aware of the sun in my eyes, staring in awe. I ignored nature's law, flew into a mountain that I never saw. I walked from the carnage, the ugly debris. I should have died, but I walked away free. And then I grew strong, for I knew I belonged, and wrote with such fury to capture this song. Lord knows the beauty of life's melody, alive with the spirit, the heart's symphony, rejoicing in happiness, struggling with pain. If cold, I would soon try again. If cold, I would live life again.
Yeah, so the life's journey, who knows where it's going to take you? And yeah, there are some hard times along the way for sure. And especially in terms of career, you never know. As I say, it took me a long time to finally arrive at that permanent position, the one that I'd sort of my dream job, as it were. But, even if I hadn't landed that job, I can't imagine looking back on life and regretting the choices that I'd made. Why? Because I always tried to pursue a pathway that was in alignment with what I understood my mission to be and the underlying purpose of my life's journey. And that's my message to you. As long as you're pursuing the pathway that aligns with your mission statement, with your core purpose in life, it's okay what happens. The twists and the turns, the ups and the downs. And as I say, even if I, quote, never got there, or even if you never get there, whatever that there is, that's not failure. As long as you're living every day as best you can in accordance with your values, your core principle, your mission statement. And if the job arrives that aligns in that regard, consider that an extra special blessing. I know I do. All right, well, stay blessed. And as ever, may you and yours continue to create peace in your lives, nurture love in your hearts, and dole out hugs in abundance. And hopefully we'll see you tomorrow.